The unity rule is a key driving force in how I operate everything in my life. It means see yourself as a part of a larger whole, of a larger human species. Do not cheat, do not manipulate, go into all relationships with a win-win attitude, never take advantage of people. I have no enemies, I have no ill will towards anyone, and I practice forgiveness every single day. I forgive every person, everything, everyone that has wronged me. Forgiveness is actually a superpower. Studies have shown that when you practice radical forgiveness, your life seems to get luckier. Your health improves, your peace of mind goes up, your sleep gets better. And so the unity rule is a key piece of that. It is the idea that unity is one of the most powerful value systems anyone can have. I got really deep into exploring spirituality, altered states, concepts like intuition, mind over reality, and applying that to the real world, to the physical world.
In the Western world, we get tricked into seeing the world from a particular lens, and that is the lens of the physical world, that everything that is real is that which we can touch. But in indigenous cultures of the world, they don't just function in the physical world. They have practices and rituals that help them go deep into the world of spirit, of mind, of soul. For example, lucid dreaming. Can you awaken in your dream and be in a dream world that is even more rich than the physical world? That means in this dream world, if you sip a cup of hot chocolate, it is so real, so delicious, it is tastier and better than any other hot chocolate you've ever tried in the physical world. And you'll remember it just like in the physical world. Now here's the thing though, these topics are real, but in the Western world, we often diminish them with the words woo-woo. So why is it that so many of us are resistant to these ideas? It is about the rational mind. And as we enter this era of the rational mind, rationalists look back at other subcultures in the human experience or pre-rational cultures and consider them obsolete. There's a new emergent era in human culture, and that is called trans-rational. And trans-rational is the era we're going into now. Trans-rational says, yes, okay, the magical thinking, that was cool 2,000 years ago, but there are spiritual ideas that are powerful that we need to look at. And these spiritual ideas are increasingly being studied by science. So, pre-rational is Moses parted the Red Sea. Pre-rational is that if I do a particular dance, I can make it rain. Rational is Silicon Valley. Rational is the microchip. Rational is Wall Street. Now, the purely rational mind, because you exist at this level, you are unaware of the level above you, trans-rational, but you know the level below you, pre-rational. So the rational mind, the people who use words such as this is too woo-woo, they're actually merging both because they cannot see the difference. So they assume that lucid dreaming and meditation and astral projection are the same as the belief that Moses parted the Red Sea, or that you are born a sinner, or that gay people are wrong because some dude in the sky said so 2,000 years ago. That is called the pre-trans fallacy. It's a philosophical idea that explains why some people are afraid to embrace these concepts. But when you understand the fallacy, you start to see how what we're going to talk about is actually really, really, really rational. In fact, it is the ultimate truth. And this physical world is the one that is actually an illusion. Stephen Kotler, who runs the Flow Genome Project in Silicon Valley, says, we live in a monophasic society, but Eastern and indigenous cultures are polyphasic. In other words, they don't just exist in the single waking state. They exist in multiple states. For example, the Achuar people of the Amazon, they communicate in their dreams. So they literally use dream communication to talk across vast distances in the Amazon. A couple of decades ago, a friend of mine, Lynn Twist, started seeing an Achuar face in her dream. And she would see this like Amazonian man with red marks on his face, and he would come to her dream and ask her for help. And she couldn't understand what was going on. Lynn Twist is one of the biggest fundraisers in the world for charitable causes. She wrote a book called Soul of Money. One day she described this strange face that was popping into her dreams to a friend, and he goes, oh, those markings, that's the Achuar people. So she got connected, she flew to visit the Achuwa people, and it turned out they had been summoning her. These people were using dreams to communicate with a Western woman to bring her into their village. Now what happened next was pretty damn cool. Lynn Twist founded an organization called Pachamama, and together they were able to preserve some 10 million acres of Amazon rainforest land from logging. But it started because these Achuwa people were able to project their consciousness into her dream, know exactly who to pull, the #1 fundraiser in the Western world, and bring her into their fold. So, what do we know from a scientific basis, right? We know that there are different brainwave states that we can measure in our head. Most of you right now are in the beta or waking frequency. Roughly 10% of you statistically would be at the alpha or restful state. You're kinda in this restful state if you are a frequent meditator. Maybe it's also genetic. Maybe you were born with a brain that's less prone to stress. Maybe you just had a wonderful conversation with a friend. Maybe someone just gave you a hug. You go into this restful, peaceful state. That's alpha. That's the level of restfulness, but also creativity. Now you can slow down your brain further to theta. Theta is a dreamy state. When you're at theta, it's hard to keep your head straight. So when you're meditating and you start nodding off like that, you're dipping into theta. Theta is interesting. Theta is where ideas come from. Theta is the realm of psychic ability. But there is a state even beyond that, and that is delta. Delta is what you're in when you're asleep. Thomas Edison was known for his naps, right? So he created some 2,300 patents in the Western world. One of the greatest inventors of all time. So he would sleep with a metal ball in his hand. And as he drifted off into sleep, his hand would drop, the ball would drop, it would hit an iron plate below him, jolting him out of sleep. And in his mind, there would be a new idea. But what he was doing was dipping from beta to theta, beta to theta. He was dipping in here to grab ideas and bring them out to the waking state. Edison had a famous assistant, Nikola Tesla. He said, "The mind is sharper and keener in seclusion and uninterrupted solitude. No big laboratory is needed in which to think. Originality thrives in seclusion, free of outside influences beating upon us to cripple the creative mind. Be alone. That is the secret of invention. Be alone. That is when ideas are born. This is why many of the earthly miracles have had their genesis in humble surroundings. Going into yourself, listening to that still voice within." Now Tesla also said this, "Instinct is something which transcends knowledge. We have undoubtedly certain finer fibers that enable us to perceive truth when logical deduction or any other willful effort of the brain is futile." One of Tesla's most famous quotes is this, "My brain is only a receiver. In the universe there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration." First thing to understand is meditation. What happens when we meditate? And what exactly is meditation? Meditation is often like misunderstood in the Western world, because we think it's about clearing your mind, focusing on your breath, getting very peaceful, and that's true. That's getting into alpha, that's relaxation. But you can go way deeper. You can be able to go into deeper levels of meditation to source ideas, to source inspiration.
So I designed a form of meditation for the world. It's called the 6-phase meditation. And really the 6 phase is a mental protocol. And it's crazy powerful. And the 6 phase changes your state of being and puts you in this powerful state. And I designed it specifically for people who are really goal-driven, really all about building and creating change in the world. And they have difficulty slowing their mind down or emptying their mind because their mind is all over the place. The 6 phase nurtures that. It embraces that aspect of the mind being super active, but channels it in such a way of using 6 principles to accelerate the way you show up in the world. It actually makes you younger, improves your health, improves flow states, improves your cognition, improves your peace of mind, makes you kinder, and makes you manifest better. I know that's a big list, but it is a powerful practice that everyone should be doing.